Graham, if you're watching this, I'm about to teach you a lesson, so pay attention. So a couple weeks ago, a YouTuber that I like to watch named Graham Stephan made a video titled, "Why You Should Not Buy a Home." Right away, I was pretty skeptical. I watch a lot of Graham Stephan's content, and he really promotes buying a house, buying real estate, and I felt that his video was a little bit too focused on the investment side of it and wasn't focused on people who are stuck paying rent every month. Because, in my mind, you can pay rent that does nothing for you and eventually just goes away, goes into the pocket of your landlord, or you can buy a mortgage, which usually is a little bit lower for the amount of house you get, and you're getting equity back, so you're not just throwing this money into the void. So right away, I didn't believe Graham Stephan's claims. So my comment on his video, which did get replied to by Graham, I stated, hey, this is a little bit out of touch. This isn't really in line with your normal content, and I don't think that you're seeing this from the perspective of somebody who's having to pay rent every month. He actually responded and said that not necessarily. There are some occasions where paying rent, even long-term, could be worth your time. You could make investments with the additional income that you would have spent on the capital for, putting a down payment on the house, as well as the closing costs and taxes, repair costs, all that. Still don't believe him. So we're gonna get into it, and Graham Stephan, if you're watching, I think you should pay pretty close attention. Okay, to start out, I started getting some numbers, just rough averages that I could pull off of Google for housing in the United States. So for one, let's start with the average rent. The average rent in the United States is, according to my Google searches for all this, $1,468. Renter's insurance, which Graham Stephan in his video does completely ignore that renters do have to have insurance, but it's at a much lower cost. So renter's insurance on average is about $178 per year, $178.80. So that takes your annual cost to rent a home to about $18,000, $17,794.80. So in total to rent, it's gonna cost you almost $18,000. If you look at the amount of capital that is required to buy a house, again, just averages, this is gonna vary wildly. Let's say that you buy the average home price, according to Zillow, of $269,000. Your mortgage for that house, again, according to Google mortgage estimators, is gonna be about $1,150. Your down payment, assuming that you put a 20% down payment, is gonna be $53,800. So closing costs, you can assume will be about 5%. Closing cost for a $269,000 house is $13,000. And then you get into the minutia of the yearly cost. You're not necessarily gonna see month to month, but they are important. So taxes, if you take an average of what I did 0.85% taxes for a $269,000 house, it's gonna give you $2,286.50. Insurance is gonna be roughly $1,500. You can add in your repair costs, which as a rule of thumb, you can assume that 1% of your home's value is gonna be required for repair costs each year. So that takes our annual repair cost to $2,690. So the annual cost to buy a house is $20,000, what? So the annual cost to be a homeowner, in this case, is higher than the annual cost to be a renter. That is not something that I expected to happen. Maybe Graham Stephan is right. Let's see. I'm gonna go further into this. So Graham Stephan's major claim is that if you rent and you don't have to pay these additional fees, these taxes, these repair costs, this higher insurance cost, that you can then invest that money, and that money will make more for you in the long term. So let's look into that. So first, let's talk about the amount of money that you're putting away to buy a home. So in this specific scenario, we're talking about paying 20% down on a $269,000 house. In addition to that, we're gonna be paying 5% closing costs, so that takes our total capital required to buy a house to about $67,000. So for this comparison that I'm gonna do, we're going to put $67,000 into a investment fund that's going to appreciate at a rate of 6%. 6% is a fairly arbitrary number I chose, but it's also reasonable to obtain by just putting your money in index funds. In addition to that initial investment, I'm also gonna do the difference between the cost to buy a home and the cost to rent a home for a year. So that's about another $2,500 a year that you're gonna be investing in this index fund and appreciating at 6%. Compared to if you decide to buy a home and you use this capital in your home, yes, you're not throwing the money away, but the only thing you're building with that money is equity. So I'm gonna assume the same 30-year period for both buying a home and renting a home and see what happens. So we're gonna have to make some assumptions here. One, I'm going to assume that the value of the house does not change. Typically you can expect a house to appreciate over a period of 30 years, but for the sake of argument, we'll say that this house stays exactly $269,000 the entire 30-year period. So over 30 years, you can look at it as you've moved your cash into equity value, and now your assets, instead of being liquid, are wrapped up in a house. So at the end of the 30 years, you have moved $269,000 from your income, your money, into an asset, which is your home. So compare that to your amount invested. Let's say that you've invested this $68,000, $67,000 into an index fund. This index fund appreciates at 6% per year, and then you continue to contribute the difference every single year. At the end of 30 years, you can expect to have made a profit of, one second, drum roll. If you invest this capital that you would have spent on buying a home into these index funds, appreciating 6% per year, at the end of the same 30-year period, your total fund could be expected to be worth $555,000. So compared to $269,000, it's not looking good for my criticism of Graham Stephan's video. But let's take out capital gains tax. Let's say you pull out all this money after 30 years, you pay capital gains tax, it's gotta be closer, right? Wrong. Even after capital gains tax is taken out, assuming a bunch of things, but long-term capital gains tax, less than $415,000 profit, you're still gonna walk away with about $416,000 for your total fund. Graham, you were right. So let's be clear. Graham was right in this specific instance where you put 20% down, you pay 5% in closing costs, and your fund can appreciate 6%. Your house doesn't go up. That's a lot of factors to go into. So things that could make this worth it, me personally, maybe it's a little bit hypocritical that I accused Graham Stephan of being out of touch whenever I just bought this house for 0% down using a VA loan. So I did not realize watching the video that that's not a luxury that everybody has. So things that could make buying a home worth it. If your initial investment is smaller, so you use a VA loan or a type of home loan that requires you to pay less money down and still get that prime interest rate, then obviously your investment's gonna be better off. Additionally, it's possible that you don't need to make as many home repairs in a year and you can invest that money and continue to invest in index funds and get the same returns that they're getting here. And then obviously home values can be expected to appreciate. There's several things that you could do to make a house a better investment. But I think that throughout the course of researching and trying my best to prove Graham Stephan wrong, what I've learned is yeah, it's not a no-brainer to just buy a house and that's your best investment you can make, which is what I believed before. Got to be smart. Actually look into what your investments are. How important is it to you to own a home? How important is it to diversify your investing? And at the end of the day, maybe it's not such a bad thing to be renting. Maybe it makes more financial sense. I know personally this would have made me feel a lot better whenever I was renting a home, because I felt a lot of pressure to get onto that home ladder, to start buying a home and stop throwing away my money into rent. But really looking at this has been kind of an eye-opener, and I hope that people that can watch this can see not feel so bad about renting, not feel like they're wasting their money, because it isn't always a money saver to buy your house. So thank you guys for watching. I don't know how many people will watch this. I don't have exactly a huge channel, But Graham Stephan, if you watch this, I appreciate your time, and I do enjoy your videos. For everybody out there, I don't have any sponsorships or anything. Obviously, look at my subscriber count, you know that. But I do watch the morning, or I do subscribe to the Morning Brew. And if I get 5 referrals, then I get to read the Morning Brew on Sunday. And I think maybe I'll even get a cool coffee mug or something, which would be awesome. So if you guys wouldn't mind, go into my referral link down in the description and signing up for the Morning Brew. It's a super interesting publication. Every single morning I wake up, I go to work, I'll have my coffee at the beginning of work, and I'll read the Morning Brew on my email. It gets emailed out at like 6 a.m. Eastern time every day. A lot of interesting finance news. If you like finance tech, if you like learning about new finance stuff like I do, then the Morning Brew is a solid publication with cool writers. Thanks for watching.